to make names for themselves in the business. How can you create a star out of someone like Dolph Ziggler by having him defeat John Cena all the time within 3 to 4 weeks apart from the victories? You can't, because if you're supposed to create a new talent initiative, you're supposed to have competition within that new talent initiative, not having people like John Cena and Randy Orton coming out for an excuse to put people on the back burner all the time, which is what's happening for people like Bray Wyatt. Whatever happened to Bray Wyatt being the new face of fear in WWE? Why is John Cena always overshadowing everything that people like Bray Wyatt and Dolph Ziggler are offering to the new talent initiative? Why is he even U.S. champion in 2015? It's not 2004 anymore. It's 2015, and John Cena being the U.S. champion does not fit with a new talent initiative. He doesn't need a fourth reign as U.S. champion after previously holding the title 3 times. I mean, give me a break. Someone like a Dolph Ziggler or a Bray Wyatt could be the U.S. champion and be a far better representative of the U.S. title division than what John Cena is. That's really killing the idea of creating a superstar, in my opinion, which is why I hope that Rusev wins this match with John Cena, the I Quit match, because the loser of this match apparently is walking out of the WWE, and I hope the one walking out is John Cena, because Rusev needs to create a name for himself, and he could do it at the expense of John Cena. John Cena has done everything in his career. I don't need to run down through the accolades, the list of accomplishments that John Cena has achieved for himself throughout the last 13 years, because he's done everything, including winning Royal Rumble matches, 15 championships. He's won the Money in the Bank briefcase. He's cashed in the briefcase, had a phenomenal series of matches with CM Punk. He's had some of the greatest rivalries in wrestling history with the likes of Shawn Michaels, Triple H, John Bradshaw Layfield, The Undertaker, and Brock Lesnar. The man doesn't need to do any more. You know, when you can put out a DVD or Blu-ray documentation on your greatest feuds in your 13-year career, that says a lot. And John Cena's greatest rivalries says a lot about everything John Cena has accomplished. You don't see that being put out about Daniel Bryan. You don't see that being put out about Wade Barrett. And until you do see that being put out about a superstar like Daniel Bryan or Wade Barrett, then you will know that something is being done with their characters creatively. But while people like John Cena are always there stealing their proverbial thunder, that's never going to happen for them, and that's really unfortunate, and that's why I feel for the Daniel Bryan fans out there. Why is it Daniel Bryan suffers from 2 major injuries in less than 1 year? It's because he was overworked, and people like John Cena are always overshadowing Daniel Bryan, and the reason why Daniel Bryan is always overworked is because he's trying to mean something to the business just as much as what John Cena has meant to the business for the last 13 years, but he can't, because WWE are always putting John Cena over. Why is that? It's because of the numbers and the zeros John Cena is putting at the end of those numbers. That's really all Triple H and Vince McMahon have cared about, and that's why they're giving John Cena money to finance and run with his character. If they stop financing his character and stop believing in John Cena's character, I think more of a productivity would be seen in WWE. That's why I believe Stephanie McMahon was accurate, more accurate than she had ever been as a principal owner of WWE, when she came out and said WWE would only thrive if John Cena left and was never heard from again. Like they thrived off the losses of The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin and Brock Lesnar. Over the years, they would do the same in the absence of John Cena. I had more respect for Stephanie than I have ever had in my entire life. When she came out, got in the face of John Cena, and treated him the way that she did. She was very accurate. She was very to the point about John Cena, just as Triple H was a couple of weeks ago when he said that John Cena was the past. He said that before WrestleMania, when John Cena was trying to kind of rekindle what he once had as a 15-time champion, which we believed he had lost. Triple H, Stephanie were coming out all the time saying John Cena was the past. WWE could only thrive off the loss of John Cena, and here's how I see it. If John Cena goes, WWE will only thrive off the loss of him. Only good things, only profitable things can happen and emerge off the absence of John Cena, just as it did off the absences of Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, Brock Lesnar, and many top names in the business who have all come and gone. You know, if that were true, WWE would have been out of business a long time ago. They would have went out of business when Hulk Hogan left in 1993 and went to WCW. That's when they would have went out of business. That's when they would have went under, if that would have been true. They would have went out of business when Shawn Michaels couldn't wrestle anymore and Hulk Hogan had left for World Championship Wrestling. So because they thrived off that, there's no reason why they can't thrive off the loss of John Cena, which I have every reason to believe they are going to do. They just have to let John Cena go, and they have to get to that pivotal point. Along with that, they have to allow John Cena to get to that pivotal point of realization where he realizes the business doesn't need me anymore. I've done everything that I've been able to do in the last 13 years that I am capable of ever having done in my career, and it's time for me to go. And I approve of the decision to get rid of John Cena. And you may say to yourself, over the years I have become a John Cena critic, and I have become a John Cena critic because I never really was entertained by anything that John Cena did over the last almost 15 years. I was in the first 1 or 2 years of his career. I respected what he did as the prototype in OVW. I respected everything he did to have to get to WWE, and I respected when he was a heel and he was trying to earn the respect of the legends like Chris Benoit and Brock Lesnar by insulting them with raps. After they dropped the rap gimmick of John Cena and this "I hate everybody" attitude and replaced it with hustle, loyalty, and respect, when we got to that point of hustle, loyalty, and respect, I said, fuck this. We're not getting anywhere in WWE as long as we're with this hustle, loyalty, and respect crap week after week after week. As long as we're stuck with that, nothing is ever going to be done in WWE that's going to be profitable and going to be productive. We need to get to a point of productivity in professional wrestling. And until we get to that point of productivity and we kill the idea of hustle, loyalty, and respect, as long as we throw that out the window, we're going to get somewhere. But as long as we continue to run with the idea of so glad to be in the position that I'm in, hustle, loyalty, and respect, and never give up, as long as we continue with that, we're going nowhere. And the days of Hulk Hogan and Stone Cold Steve Austin are going to remain buried. And I hate to have to say that because I was the biggest Stone Cold Steve Austin fan. I love the feud with Austin and McMahon. I love the feuds The Rock was involved in. I love the feuds the Nation of Domination and DX and the NWO were involved in. I loved everything about this business, and that seemingly has been thrown out the window and become footage on WWE Network, which nobody can never get enough of, because people like John Cena and Randy Orton are making a mockery out of this business. And why are people like Randy Orton and John Cena getting away with everything they are doing? Because Vince McMahon and Triple H, more so Triple H, is playing favorites with people like John Cena. And I hate the game of playing favorites in professional wrestling. That's something that I have never done. Yes, I've had my favorites, but I have never taken the 4 or 5 favorites that I've always had and played the game of favoritism with them. I have never been biased towards anybody in this business. I have given credit where people have deserved credit, and I have criticized people where people have deserved criticism, and I'll continue to do that until the day that I die. It's just John Cena one time in my career as a wrestling host deserved the credit I was giving to him, and now it's just come to a point of realization for me where I realize, John Cena isn't as good as what he once was. There was a time when I respected John Cena, and I don't so much anymore. And I'll continue to hate John Cena until he's gone. I'll continue to raise this critical issue because it is a critical issue. When you see the same guy winning the title, losing the title, winning it back within 3 weeks of losing it, losing the title, winning it back within 3 weeks of losing it, it's the same repetitive bullshit all the time. And it's because WWE are getting numbers from John Cena, and they are getting numbers, and as long as they get those numbers, that's all they care about. If they were getting the same numbers from a Santino Marella, which God knows is never going to happen, but if they were getting the same numbers from Santino Marella, they wouldn't give a fuck about John Cena. As long as the Cobra was producing millions of dollars and selling merchandise, they don't care. As long as he's putting asses in seats, they don't care who it is. They don't care who replaces Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock. As long as they're getting the same numbers or higher numbers than what we saw back in 1998, 1999. And in my opinion, after having seemingly done it all, John Cena, this idea of how he's the best, I really have never agreed with it. I will never agree with it because he isn't the best. And in my opinion, he still has a long way to go before he's a Stone Cold Steve Austin or a Rock, or even to be considered in that category. It's absolutely ridiculous what this business has amounted to and why people are not watching the professional wrestling product anymore. The reason why they are not watching the professional wrestling product anymore is because it's the same thing. You can predict the conclusion of a show before you see the show, especially when it's taped with all the spoilers being posted on professional wrestling news websites. Why are we going to watch Thursday Night SmackDown when we can read the spoilers on ProWrestling.com or PW Insider? We're not going to. And they sit down at board meetings and they wonder why their television ratings are so low for both their TV tapings and more so for their live shows. It's because for their live shows you have the same champions all the time. The belt is never defended. Names like Brock Lesnar and The Undertaker are only distributed on pay-per-view and you have to pay to see them or subscribe to the network. And it's because your TV tapings have spoilers posted on the websites. If you want to have higher TV ratings, make your TV show more unpredictable than what it is. I mean, we know what's going to happen when a triple threat match happens. We know in the weeks leading up to a triple threat match, that's the main event of a pay-per-view like WrestleMania, what's going to happen. The 3 of them are going to work together in a program. 2 people are going to team up. The 2 people who are facing the champion, who is usually a heel, are going to turn on each other at some point. One's going to give them their finishing move one week, and the other's going to respond with their trademark move, their finishing move. It's pretty obvious what's going to happen. The champion is the one who usually comes out on top because the other two can't coexist long enough to become champion themselves. It's so obvious. The game of predictability in professional wrestling arises way too much. And it's because we have the same champions and the same 3 or 4 challengers all the time. If it's not John Cena, it's somebody else in that same position. But then you go back to 2004, 2005, there wasn't much of a difference when Triple H was on top because he was being criticized just as much. They say the business has changed so much, but it really hasn't. You know, Triple H was in the same position John Cena is in now, doing everything, nothing for him to do, and that's why he eventually slowed it down as an executive board member and the COO of the company. That's why he donned that role, because he had done everything. And if you want John Cena to do something, why not take him out of the ring and have him be a general manager of a show? That would make the show more interesting because John Cena wouldn't be wrestling, and we wouldn't have to put up with him being champion all the time as we did Triple H all those years. Triple H got to a position of power and was donned the COO role. Why can't John Cena don the role of general manager? He would be a far better general manager than what a Brad Maddox or a Vic Guerrero was, no matter how much you criticize him. You know, he'd be a far better general manager than a Mike Adamle, for God's sake. He's definitely on a higher level than all the general managers we have seen, and he's definitely got a reputation of being a future Hall of Famer, so why not put him in that role as you've done many over the years, like Paul Heyman, Ric Flair, so many people, Kurt Angle, have all fallen into that category in that role. Why not put John Cena there? If you can have AJ, a popular diva, be a general manager, you can easily do it for John Cena if he's allegedly done everything. And then we could kill the idea of John Cena retiring because we'd know what his role would be after he decided to slow it down. But because we don't know what John Cena's future is, this is why this is being predicted. And it may be a long shot to say that John Cena is going bye-bye. But we need him to go bye-bye to create something, to open up this door of opportunity more widely than it has been opened up over the last number of years. The reason why the door of opportunity